Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX agency. Check us out. And I fixed the title in the middle of the theme song. This is actually episode 6 of our Think Out Loud series. And this is where I am teaching aspects of UX design and architecture by doing realistic fake work and thinking out loud and explaining my process, plus taking your questions live. So if you have any questions about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, make sure that you are asking those questions. If you're here live, just get them in the chat room. And if you're watching later, you can certainly comment under the video because I do answer every question personally. Now, of course, first we want to thank the people who are sponsoring the show. Some of our low ego action heroes who are at the higher levels here on the YouTube channel: Anita, Chang, Darren, Ican, Irena, Ivy, Jordan, Michelle, Nikki, Raleigh, Saray, Solomon, Farmcat, and Mix Betty. So thanks to those of you who are helping me buy delicious chocolate chips. All right, so here in episode 6, we are still working on our first Think Out Loud project, and this was a time tracking system for a business that had to compare how much time we allotted to a project to how much time people were actually billing or recording for the project. There were 3 target audiences: the end user, who has to put in their time; the project manager, who has to create the project and say how much time per week each worker can work. And then we had kind of a larger, higher level user, maybe not larger, higher level user that was going to maybe look in on this, or maybe the project manager, and have some sort of graph or visualization or data that would tell them, are we meeting our time estimates? Are people billing more time? Just to have a visualization of how things are going. So that being said, let me jump into Axure, and we're actually going to first talk about something else, and then we'll get back into the work. So I'm hoping that people joining live will join in the conversation that I am about to start, and it looks like this. All right, so you should be seeing me, the tip jar, the chat room, and my copy of Axure 10. Not sponsored. Many of you know I'm an Axure fan, and we do now have 13 hours of Axure lessons here on the YouTube channel, so check that out. It's free. This came in, I'm looking for what project we'll do next, and this came in as a potential project because we do have a form that you can fill out and submit a potential project for this series. Oop, did I just click the wrong button? No. Okay. So go to deltacx.com/links. I think I have a link there to fill out something for Think Out Loud, but if not, let me know and I'll put one up. And this came in, and I want to know from the people watching what they think of this about a next project. It says, the target audience is personal development-driven individuals in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, short on time, tech-savvy, career-minded, enjoy reading books on leadership, personal development, and career success. Their problems or pain points are: they need to know which books coincide with their unique personal development goals, plans, or needs. They want to read more books but don't have enough time. They feel they don't know how to put into practice the things they've read, and easily forgets concepts, ideas, lessons taught in books. And this anonymous person said, as someone in the prime of my professional career, I enjoy reading books about leadership, personal development, and career success. But with so many books out there, it's hard to know which ones to pick up that will coincide with my unique personal development goals, plans, and needs. Even if I did know what books to read, I don't have enough time to read a book from cover to cover. Not to mention, I find it challenging to apply and remember the ideas, concepts I've read in such books. It's a fake project, and they want to see everything. So what is your impression when you hear this? Because the Think Out Loud series is about designing a digital product. It's about being able to do UX design on a website, an app, something that would end up a digital product. Now, hypothetically, I could try to design a service or talk about how I would go about designing a service or researching a service. But when I read this, the thought that I had, and let me know, those watching live, what you think, I don't think this is a digital product. I mean, let's face it, not everything should be a digital product. We make lots of mistakes at companies thinking everything should be a website or app. But there's a couple of things here that tell me that this just sounds like personal one-on-one coaching. So first of all, if this person doesn't know how to put into practice things they've read, I'm not sure a website or app is going to help them. It sounds like they need a mentor or a coach who's going to give them practice projects or watch them do some work. Well, not watch, sit over them, but, look in on their work and check their work. If this person wants to read more books but doesn't have enough time, I don't think a website or app is going to make them have more time. And to quote my late grandfather, you make time for the things that are important to you. So, if you have time to watch my streams, you have time to read a book, because you could skip one of my streams and you could put that hour into reading a book. Or half hour if you're watching it 2x. So let's not pretend that we don't have time to do things that are important to us. If a book is not your highest priority, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you it has to be, but let's not pretend that there's just literally no time, because we make time for other things that are important to us. And if we decide to prioritize our career development more highly, and we believe that one or more books is part of it, then, you got to do it. You just got to do the work. There's no substitute here. Hi, Paul. Paul in LinkedIn says, totally agree. This doesn't sound like a digital product. It sounds like a different way of digesting the information they need, such as coaching. That was my impression as well. So I've put it in the file, in the Axure file, just to archive it and have a record of it. And to the person who sent it in, thank you so much. I believe that what you're talking about is real, and I believe that what you're talking about is common, but I don't believe that it's solved by a digital product or service. What you need is one-on-one coaching, because you want something that is your unique personal development. And when I think about your unique personal development, then I can't just give you a database to look through. I can't just give you recommended books. I can't just say, go to Amazon and find highly rated books on a thing. It sounds like you really want a mentor or coach to understand your unique personal development goals, plans, and needs, recommend the right books to you, work with you on making sure you're putting things into practice correctly. And if you easily forget ideas, then that person needs to work with you on how you can take better notes or do other things that will help you have records of the ideas you want to learn. So to the person who sent this in, thank you. But I think we are not going to do this as a future suggestion. Hey, Kayleen, great to see you. I think I have a form on the new links page. deltacx.com/links should have a link to, would you like to submit something for Think Out Loud? If there isn't a link there, let me know and I'll get one going. Otherwise, you can always send me a private message in our Slack community. And of course, the deltacx.com/links will take you to our free Slack community. So you can always send me something there, but we did have a form. Ka says, love your lives about boot camps I have all the time, but I lack sense of guidance, been procrastinating about my portfolio. Yep, you got to get on that portfolio, y'all. All right, so when last we left off, we had done a kind of quick concept level design for our worker bee. And I said, for a version 1, this is probably, I would clean this up a little bit. I would build it out a little further in Axure so it was a little bit more realistic, and I would take it to usability testing. And in the last couple of episodes, we worked on the interface for the project manager. And again, not exactly an MVP, but definitely a lower features version 1, where you've got a list of projects. You can edit the project, you can archive the project, you can delete the project. I imagined a couple of filters here showing active or archived ones. I imagined a sort where you can sort these projects in different ways. And we also had an interface for adding a new project, which I did build in Axure and I got it working. And so that would hypothetically be ready to take to usability testing as well. Again, as a quick and dirty version 1 or early concept. Now we're kind of up to the last part of this original project. And again, if you would like to see this project, let me load it back up to Axure. And you can see the Axure prototype and all of the pages in it. And this is the web address down here. It's a little bit hard to see. It's XM as in Mary, I as in India, number 9, Z as in zebra, number 4.axshare.com. So you can always go there and check this prototype out. I think we're going to need a new page for the next step of this, which is a project manager or other manager or leader looking in on this and seeing some sort of hopefully actionable visualization that would allow them to see, and again, based on the original project, which you can always see here at Project Details and Assumptions, was that teams don't always do their work in the times close to their estimates, and management are trying to figure out what staff are spending time on. So that's kind of the part of it that we're up to, which is what would a project manager or a senior manager need to see in order to figure out if we are meeting our estimates or if we're going over or above them or below them. So I'm going to create a new page in Axure. And I will call this Interaction Design Senior Manager. Though again, hypothetically, the project manager might look at this page as well. Oh, that's not what I wanted to paste. So let's see. We want to get a not project details. Well, I'll just grab this as a big headline. All right, so let's say we've got some sort of headline on this page. And again, I'm usually not the visual designer, so I know some of my typography isn't great. My icons are placeholders. They're also ridiculously large. Just remember that I'm not trying to show this as a final visually designed thing. This is medium fidelity, so this is not a high fidelity design. I am not a visual designer. We're not working from a what's the word I'm looking for? Like design system or component kit. So let's say that now people need to review what's going on with this. So I'm just going to call it dashboard. I'm assuming that this will be some sort of data visualization, but the question with data visualizations for you as UX designers or interaction designers is always, how can we make them actionable? How can we make sure that the information we're going to give is meaningful, actionable, and helpful? A lot of dashboards suck, and you'll hear this from Larry Marine also. A lot of dashboards suck because the information doesn't match what we needed to know, or the information's like, that's nice, what do I do about it? So I think it would be interesting if we imagined that the dashboard is being seen by someone who can do something about this. So let's just start with a typical dashboard, and let's imagine that we're going to create some sort of maybe graph or visualization that will help people understand how time is being used. Now, this is an area where we would have to learn more through research or maybe the project requirements. Do people, so we would of course be interviewing and talking to the people who are going to use this dashboard. We're not going to make assumptions about them. We need to figure out what their task is. You know, we talk a lot on this channel about, I know this may look funky, task analysis and optimized task flow. So thinking about the task that people are going to be doing when they're looking at this part of our system. Why are they here? What do they need to see? And what are they going to do with that information after? That would guide what kind of visualization we make and what we do. However, because this is a fake project for the purposes of learning, we don't know. So we're going to have to make some assumptions. So I'm just going to start by kind of creating a quick and dirty graph on the assumption that we're going to create some sort of graph style visualization that will tell the person looking at this something about how the project is going. Now, I realize we also need to have them select a project. So I guess, would people want to see more than one project at a time? Does it make sense to compare projects to each other, or are projects always extremely separate? I'm not sure. This is something that we would have to research. We might have to talk to a product manager to see what some of their vision around this is and what they know about these needs. So let's just start by imagining there is a graph. That's as far as I'm going to go for a moment. I'm just making myself a quick X and Y axis to imagine that there is some sort of visualization. Now, unlike something like Excel, Axure doesn't have some sort of easy button to make charts and graphs. For the most part, you're going to be creating them yourself. So perhaps it sounds like this graph is going to need either two lines or two bars, and it's going to be the estimated or allotted time versus the time that the worker bees, said that they actually spent. So we're going to need to compare these, and we either need to compare these as bar graphs, or we're going to need to compare these as lines, where we can see if one line is over the other or higher than the other. I'm wondering if bars next to each other is the easiest visualization, but to me, the best way to know this is to just start building it and to start trying to put ourselves in the shoes of the people using this and say, does this seem to work? Now, of course, eventually we will usability test it with the real users or archetypal users. So for now, we are guessing a little bit. So let's imagine that we've got two bars that are going to be on this graph. And let's imagine that one represents the estimated time. So I'm just going to pick a color from Axure. And again, I am really bad with visual design. So, again, don't take anything, from the colors to mean anything. Now, we also have to think about, this is where I'm going to start making some notes to myself. And if you've watched previous episodes, you know that I always drag out a little bit of text in Axure and I start making notes to myself. First of all, I need to eventually build, how does the user choose which project they want to see? So I started building a graph, but which project are they looking at and how did they select that? I don't know. I'm going to have to circle back and make that. We also need to figure out, do they want to see this by day, week, month, other time period? So we might have to have some sort of drop list or something that says, show me a graph that's week by week. Show me a graph that's month by month. Show me a graph that's quarter by quarter. So that might be something that we will have to build because I don't know yet. So let's imagine that our blue bars are going to represent the allotted time for this project. I'm going to put a little label on top. And I'm doing some quick manual styling. Those of you who've taken my Axure classes, I'm super wild about global widget styles. But here I've been doing some quick and dirty early concept work. So I've been manually styling. And if you aren't familiar with Axure, you don't know what I was talking about just there. Don't worry about it. So let's imagine that this project has been allotted 80 hours a week, and this point in the graph represents 80. Again, I haven't really fleshed out the X and Y axis yet. I'm just starting with early ideas of what could I show people that might be meaningful to them. And let's say that for week one, our team, and let's put this in a different color. Note that I'm trying to use some colorblind friendly colors so that if these things are seen by a colorblind person, these bars look very different. And the way I like to double check that, because I'm not colorblind, is I have a color blindness simulator on my phone. So you're going to watch me hold my phone up to my screen and make sure that these colors look significantly different for someone who's red-green colorblind, and they do. Since that is the most common color blindness, it affects almost 10% of people. So that's, we care. We got to do that. So let's say on this week, we worked the exact amount of hours that we intended. And of course, as I go, feel free to ask questions. Let's say, and again, let's imagine we're looking by weeks. Maybe week 2, they went over in hours. So let's kind of move this up and imagine maybe they worked 100 hours this week. And again, I know these bars probably are not mathematically correct. I would have to go back later and say, okay, this many pixels represents 80, this many represents 100, if we wanted the bar size to be mathematically correct. But for now, I'm just playing with a general idea of a visualization that I'm hoping will be meaningful, actionable, and helpful. Let's say we had a week where we went a little bit under hours. Maybe people worked 72 hours this week, and I'll just make this one a little bit smaller. Again, these really aren't to scale. This is a little funky, but, you know, hopefully everybody gets what I'm shooting for here. And maybe week 4 was an off-the-charts mess where we meant to work, the team meant to work 80 hours on a project, and they worked some bizarre, wacky, super high number. And, wrong button, sorry. There we go. So yeah, let's say this is some super wild number. This is 150 hours. Again, I know these aren't to scale. Don't bug me yet. I'm just doing something really fast to see if it looks like this is going to match people's potential needs based on hypothetically knowing those needs. Since this is a fake project, I am guessing some of those needs, but in a real work situation, I would collaborate with others from the cross-functional team and work with product and other people to make sure we know and we're not guessing, that we know what we're building and for whom and how they're going to use it and how it fits into their tasks and workflows. And again, ask any questions you have as I'm going. So I look at this, and first of all, I ask myself things like, could this be simpler? Is there a simpler way to show where we are doing a bad job with our time estimate? Now, we don't know if this is a problem of time estimation. We talked about this last time. We don't know if this is that we estimated the time well, but our team is slow, or we don't know if the time estimation was unreasonable, which happens a lot. So we don't know a lot of whys, and hypothetically, a time tracking system is not going to give us the whys, but hopefully it's going to give people a sense of what is happening so that they can maybe chase down the whys with the right people. Now, I think another great thing to add here, since we want, again, I'm dreaming up, how do I make this actionable for people when the original ask was, senior management wants to know what staff are spending their time on. Now, we decided for version 1 of this fake system that we were not going to have, let's see, how can I explain this? We were not going to have people put in super granular information about their work. They weren't going to say, I spent 45 minutes on this, and I spent an hour on this. We know that a lot of people won't fill out timesheets like that because they don't want to, it feels like a part-time job to fill out your timesheet. So we just had people putting in their total hours for the day by project. That's what we did over on the worker bee design. So we imagined that this worker, this is an individual worker, was filling out their hours on 2 different projects, and we were going to add it up and make sure they didn't go over. And if they went over, we were going to give them a message saying their manager will have to approve the extra time. Now I'm thinking somebody looking at this might want to click on one of these. I know people are thinking hover state, but remember, hover states are not always accessible. So what if people could click on this and get more information about how that time was put in and who put it in? So maybe we imagine some sort of little panel that comes up. And maybe that panel, oh, you know what? I think there's a fun shape in Axure that might make more sense here. I think they had one with like a little pointy side. Maybe this guy. And maybe rotate him. Like, hi, I relate to this guy. Okay. And perhaps this comes up, and perhaps it says who worked on these things for how long. So someone can go, oh, someone worked too many hours on this. Damn it. So maybe we imagine that this shows that, let's pick some people from the audience today to be our fake workers here. Let's say Paul Humphrey will immortalize you today. Paul Humphrey put in a certain number of hours. So right, justify that. He put in 40 hours. And let's copy paste this a bit. Sorry, it's boring. I know you're watching this. But again, this is how I really work. I just start putting ideas on a page. I don't start with physical sketching with pencil or pen or things like that, because this is kind of the way I think. And I have these ideas and I want to bring them to life immediately in Axure and see if they make sense. So this won't just be the Paul show. We'll add Kayleen. And we'll say Kayleen worked extra hard on this project. She put in 55 hours. And we've got someone who came in today and says, Aka. Okay, let's say you put in a lot of hours this week too. Let's see, so far that's what, 145. And then maybe we had somebody helping out, our good friend Aitan. Let's pretend that Aitan added 5 hours here. I think that totals us up to 150, but let's just pretend, this is just a sample thing. So we can also make sure, because this is going to be a little pop-up panel, that, let's see, we're going to want a little icon to close this panel, and that'll be times, drag it out, make it smaller. And put it up here. I mean, again, close enough. Obviously, a visual designer would come in and make this better. Or if we have a design system, this might be something that's already been established and I wouldn't have to invent it because it's something we already have. So because this is something people won't see by default, we are going to make it a dynamic panel in Axure, which I normally do when something shows, hides, moves, changes, or is pinned. So this would be the hours detail panel, just to remind myself what the heck I'm doing and why. And the yellow box means Axure is hiding this by default. You don't see it. And I need to go in quickly and build what's going to close the panel, because again, I'm not just wireframing right now. I do build in prototypes. I do build immediately in something interactive so that I can test my own idea and go, wow, this sucks, or hey, this has potential. I do also like to put larger tappable areas on hotspots. Larger tappable areas on everything, because don't you hate trying to have to get your mouse right on that 1.5 pixels that someone decided was linked? Hate. So let's build a quick thing here that says if someone clicks that X, we're going to hide the panel that we just created, and maybe we give it a nice romantic fade out. Alrighty. And we also need what's going to inspire it to exist. So let's say if people click on the bar, or we can be super generous and say if they click on the bar or the number, I'm going to drop a hotspot over the bar and the number just to be a little bit more generous here. So let's say if they click anywhere in this area, we're going to show this panel with the hours detail. So let's see, let's say this is a show of the hours detail. And just for fun, let's give it a slide right. But we might determine that's too cheesy. So let's see, we are going back here to this preview, and see if I refresh. No, I still don't have it. I'm going to have to do a fresh preview to get this new page to pop up. Here we go. All right, so something here, we would click, and now we've got this information, and we could close that up. Another thing that we could do, let's see, if part of the project is why are estimates not matching the actual hours worked, then maybe, let's put this on the to-do list, see hours by project and see hours by person. Maybe we will find that the overachieving Kayleen is consistently working more hours than she was supposed to. Maybe her manager is approving that because they know she's a hard worker, she's doing great work, we're going to pay her for her time. But that is making it look like we're going over our estimates because she is putting in more time. So it's not that she's necessarily doing something bad or wrong, but she's certainly part of the problem, even though it's only accidentally a problem, of people working more hours than were estimated. And it would take obviously more digging to learn if we just have an inefficient team or if the time estimation is unfair. So that is one thing that we could build. I think, let's see. And again, I don't have an X and Y axis. And so I'm just mocking this up really quickly for now. You can always draw more of that X and Y axis and explain what this is. I think I want to move this down a little bit and kind of give it a headline to explain what people are seeing. So I think we want to grab some text. And that is ridiculously big. I've made ridiculously big things here. So let's imagine that this thing says, let's see, this is a project. We had these names on the other page. I'll just get a fake project. It's the Larry update because Larry's here now. Project 123 Larry update. Larry says, it helps to measure anything against a desired target or goal. Can you include a line for the goal or objective? Yeah, Larry, I know it's not clear here, but the blue bars were the goal. So the blue bars were the allotted time for the project, and the orange hours were the time we actually put in. So, let me take a moment to kind of build that out a little bit more so that it's clearer to people, especially those joining late. So let's quickly center this. Let's say week 1, and I'll just put a couple of like little week markers under these so that people understand that. And we probably might need a little bit of a legend or thing that explains what the different bars are. So week 3 and week 4. And also, because this was a kind of a fake version 1 of this project, we imagined that every week had the same number of hours. We did not have the project manager saying, week 1, it's 80 hours. Week 2, it's 100 hours. We understand that some projects would work like that, but I'm imagining that this is an early concept of whatever this is, and that we would, if it looks like it's going in the right direction, we would build out additional functionality. So if you watch some of the other episodes of Think Out Loud, you'll see that I'm just trying to come up with an early concept of this that we would usability test and use to continue going in the right direction. So we could have a dotted line for the goal, but I think it's pretty clear we are not meeting our goals. I could come over here and do a quick copy paste and make a little, I wonder if I can do a quick rotate here. Sorta. Let's say that these colors represent, well, let's say what they do represent. Okay, so we'll need to say that, let's put it here. And let's put it here, and we'll need to drag out, again, some text to say estimated time versus the time that was actually entered. So estimated time versus... And then again, usually I would have like the content person help me with this. I'm not usually the writer, so we could say entered time or worked time or reported time. I don't really know the right thing to call this, but again, I'm, I could call it lorem ipsum time. I'm not the content person, so as long as I can write something here that shows my intention, we can always improve the copy later. So I might put worked time or actual worked time. So again, I'm not saying this is the best copy. I'm just saying this is these are my intentions to show this. So let's see, this is the Project 1 Larry update, and let's imagine that Maybe we have some sort of drop list that lets people pick different months or blocks of time. Let's see, here's a funky drop list I made ahead of time. So we need to capture two things here, which I think I'll put in two drop lists. But again, I like to build these things, and then sometimes I decide they suck. So that I will just start building and see what I come up with, and then see if I can make it better. So for this one, I think I want to say, let's start by imagining that you can look at stuff daily, or you could look at it weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And again, maybe it's annually, I don't know, but let's imagine that at least that's our starting point. And by default, this says monthly because I am showing a monthly graph here, and I can probably make this guy a little smaller, though again, I defer to our buddies in visual design to help me out here and help me not look too much of a fool. And then we'll have this one as well, because if it's monthly, we need to be clear about which month people are looking at. So this could certainly say all the months of the year, and I will just quickly type them. So excuse me. Ooh. All right, and we might say by default, this is December numbers because we're now in January. Maybe this has to have years on it, but again, I'm just working now in kind of concept land. Let's see, this one was 160 wide. Let's make this one 160 wide to match. And all right, let's do a little refresh and see how it's looking. Okay, so we've got monthly, and we've got pick a month. Okay, and Larry, you might have missed this, but we tried an idea of letting people click on these bars to see how the time broke down, to see who's putting in more hours. And I think eventually I'll link those up to individual graphs. And that's what I was going to play with next. The idea that someone might go, this Kayleen sure is working a lot. Could she be our problem or our overachiever or, running with too many hours on this? Like, is she someone we should talk to? Is she consistently going over her hours? So I think I want to put in a graph like that. And again, this would have a y-axis with different lines and stuff like that. Oh, great. Now I have to go in and block the person who is spamming us. Please hold. What are the possible action states? Do you mean the actionable information, actionable from the dashboard? I was going to get there. Because I do think that a possible action from the dashboard would be, Kayleen seems to be going over her hours consistently. We should probably talk to her. Okay, you are gone, Russian spammer. All right, back to this. Because ultimately, this is that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is eventually going to be boiled down to either the project level, where it's like, oh man, this project is consistently over hours. This might just inspire more questions. This is not going to have the why. I mean, let's face it, this dashboard is not going to explain why projects are running late. As I said earlier, it's not going to explain whether the estimate was lowballed and way too low, or if the estimate was fair and our workers are slow or inefficient, or we put too many people on the team or something else. So the dashboard is not going to tell you why. You're going to have to go seek out more information to know that. But I think if we let people drill down into individual workers, that might tell more of the story, where we can see, is an individual worker our problem? Of course, in air quotes. Because maybe Kayleen is doing a great job and she's saving the project from being a failure. And yes, she's putting in extra hours, but that's something that I'm thinking. So let's see. Do they want to see this by day, week, month, or other time period? Okay, we put in this drop list to account for that. So I'm going to take that off the to-do list. How does the user choose which project they want to see? Okay, I didn't address that yet. See hours by project and see hours by person. I think I'm going to work on that a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I am going to let's grab this, and let's see if that's the right stuff to grab. Let's drop that in a dynamic panel, and I'm just going to call this Viz panel because it's our data visualization. You can name it something else if you'd like. And I'm going to duplicate this state so I can kind of copy this and work on a Kayleen version of this. So let's imagine that this state is the project version of things, and let's see, maybe I have to sneak into the outline to duplicate it. Duplicate. Okay, this one will be the worker drill down version of things. That also reminds me, we're going to need a way for someone looking at the worker version to get back to the project version. Let me leave myself a note, and let's remember that we need to do that. So these don't need numbers, that's not important. So let's remember we need to see the hours by project and person. If you are in the person graph, you need a way to get back to projects. Now again, how did I think of that? Where did that come from? It's because my brain is naturally constantly processing possible outcomes. Hey, we moved someone in to a drill down, to further information, to additional details. They need a way out of that. They need a way back. We can't just say, yep, you're looking at Kayleen's hours, you're done, that's all this page does, thanks for dropping by. We would obviously need a way for them to show different workers one at a time, and maybe even show workers against each other. Whoa. Graph workers against each other? Question mark? That's hard, because we had in the earlier part of our project where you put in hours for people that you might allot different hours to different people. Maybe Kayleen is supposed to work 55 hours. That doesn't mean she's doing anything wrong. Maybe we allotted her 55 and she worked 55. Then she's not a problem. But the individual graph will hopefully show that. So let's go in and adjust this graph to look more like an individual worker graph. Let's call this project 123. And we need a way to say this is just Kayleen working for just this project. So it's still project 123, but it's just Kayleen. So we're going to need a way to show that. Now I'm just going to throw something on the screen for now. I may change it later. I'm just going to dump some more text here. That may not be the right way to go, but for now, let me just indicate that this is, actually, let's put it in a drop list. Because maybe you'll want to pull down the drop list and see the other people. So that means I need to rethink about where do I want these to be. Now, why is it important to put these somewhere? Because ultimately we want these to be contextual. The choice of seeing a monthly graph and the choice of seeing which month has to feel like it's still closely connected to this graph. You don't want it to feel like it is on some other planet. So you know what? I think I'll leave these here, and maybe we sneak in and hold on. Let me do a quick copy paste because we might want to steal this graph. All right, so let's go in and let's build the worker graph. Let's imagine that in the worker graph, we've got a drop list. Oops, we didn't want it there. We wanted it in worker. Okay, but not there. Let's say it goes here. And again, a visual designer is always going to make my work better, but I'm just playing around with this for now. Maybe this says worker. Maybe this is a little bit larger. Obviously, the answer to worker is not monthly. We need to change what's in this drop list to match this. So let's imagine that I can't delete more than one at a time. Fantastic. Oh, edit many. Okay, here they all are. All right. So we had Paul Humphrey. We were just naming people who are commenting today. We had Kayleen Lee. We had, let's see, we had Aitan. And I forgot her last name right now, which is terrible. I should know it, but there you go. So let's say that this is going to be the Kayleen graph. Okay, and quick message from the chat room. Someone named Cataclysmic Proportions says the Blinkist app is similar to what the prompt describes. It provides summaries and key points for books across different genres, but it doesn't offer coaching. Yeah, Cataclysmic, I think that based on what that person wrote, and it sounds like you're just back in time a good 40 minutes, that person probably needs more one-on-one individual coaching, because otherwise they could be using Goodreads and Amazon and other things like that. Larry says, how about showing individual productivity over time and plot each of their improvement trajectories over time on task to identify anyone who might need additional training? My question back to you, Larry, would be what information will we need to plot that? Because the current fake system only knows how many hours per week you're supposed to work on a project and how many hours per week you reported that you did work on the project. So we don't know if someone's time spent is productive or not. We only know what time they put in. So that would kind of be my question back to you is how would we know if someone is productive or not productive or needs training because of a productivity problem? If Kayleen was allotted 40 hours and put in 55, but the manager approved it and the project manager knew we needed her to work extra because her work is so good and she's saving this project's butt, does she need training? Is she getting it wrong? Or was the estimate way off? Maybe the project manager needs training. So let's imagine that this is at the worker level, and I'll just grab some of these and make them a little bit smaller just so we can do a kind of a quickie version of this just to mock it up. So again, this is really just concept level. This is just medium fidelity, and I don't want this one either. Let's bring these down. Larry says, show the effort values across projects to see if they're having to work extra to keep a project schedule, assuming the estimates are good. Right. We definitely have a lot of assumptions here for our fake project. So I think that a couple of things that we might need to show here, and we might decide that this is a little bit more version 2, would be, here's what Kayleen is doing on project 1, 2, 3, but what's Kayleen doing in general? Kayleen, I hope you don't mind us using you as a beacon of fantasticness. Let's imagine that these are 40s. So let's imagine that for some reason, somebody thinks that Kayleen is going to work 40 hours a week on this project every week, but in reality, sometimes she's putting in 40, sometimes she's putting in 55, sometimes she's putting in a little bit less, and sometimes she went crazy here and did a 60-hour week, never slept, forgot to eat. Larry says it could also show folks having to work extra across the project, which might indicate the time estimates are off. Yeah, so I think so too. I think that we would want to see her work on this so this is her work on a single project compared to what she was estimated on this project. And then I think we might need to show, as Larry said, if she's on multiple projects, which not every worker is. Some workers might be on one project. Some workers could be on 3 or 4 projects. are they consistently working over estimates for all their project? Here, we could probably come to the conclusion that Kayleen is working either some weeks close to estimates and some weeks way over estimates, which in my opinion would trigger some questions to the project manager. What happened those weeks? Was somebody out and Kayleen had to pull their weight? So again, there's things that we don't know, and there's things that the graph can't do. But we hope that the graph will inspire action. The graph might inspire contacting the project manager to ask what the hell is going on. And, you know, maybe that's a call to action here. Maybe the call to action here is contact the project manager or contact Kayleen. And oh my God, dear project manager, I'm looking at the graphs for 123 for December. WTF? Because we do want to think about what kind of action people can take. So now I can just quickly build into our prototype that if people click on Kayleen, they're going to get her individual graph. And then, of course, we have to have a way to go back to the project. So we'll think about some ways to show that. But for now, I'm going to give her an Axure hotspot, which allows me to build a clickable area over both her and her hours, because I like to be generous in my clickable areas. I don't like them to be small. That would be set panel state of the visualization panel to the Kayleen state. And I don't know, we could always try a slide. Let's see how that feels. Okay, save, refresh. So, oh my gosh, what happened here? Oh my gosh, Kayleen is doing things. Here's Kayleen. Now we need a way to go back. Okay, so what are some ways that we could send people back to the general project graph? We could link the Project 123 Larry update and make it very visually clear that it is linked. That could be one way to do it. So let's imagine, what if this were underlined and it were in whatever is our link color. I'm just going to pretend it's this medium blue. Let's see if that feels like that would be clear enough for a way to people to get back. So I open this. Kayleen, you know, would my eye see this if my attention is down here? Possibly not. I might not see that. I probably need something else instead of that because of where my attention is. Larry says it's common for dashboards to be designed to reflect any data the company already has. It's more successful to figure out what question you want to answer than figure out what data you will need. Yeah, the original question was, why are project estimates not matching recorded time? But I think a dashboard can't tell you why. It can only tell you where things seem to be going wrong, whether it's a project going wrong, a period of time that went wrong, a person that seems to be going wrong. I think we can only hope to better inform people about where things are going wrong so that they can take the action of pursuing more information. But right now I'm a little bit concerned of kind of a banner blindness kind of thing. I've noticed that a lot of times when you build something, that there's a certain point at which people's attention has come so far down the page or the screen that if you change something above that point, they don't see it. So my idea here to link this is probably a bad one, because we're going to have people's attention over here and they're not going to realize that to go back, they need to click this. We probably need something somewhere closer to where the attention is that lets people know that they can go back to the other graph. Now, they were just over here looking at something, but hypothetically that pop-up could have been anywhere. But that might be an interesting place to put that kind of thing. So let's say, just for kicks, we create something over here. Maybe it says back to project chart. Again, I'm not saying those are the best words. I'm saying I would work with a content strategist or content designer or copywriter on what are the best words. I'm also going to chuck a chevron here. And again, I would be working with visual designers to try to come up with the right icon. My icon is gigantic, and it would be a placeholder. And let's bring it down a bit. That's still kind of big, but you know what? I think it's fun. So this would be a placeholder for this, and I am having some lining up problems here. Let's see if we put it here, if we feel like it's a little bit clearer and a little bit easier to see rather than the potential kind of inattention of linking something at the top of the page. So let's give this guy our fake linky color and take a look at how that feels. I think that's better. I think that's going to be clearer to people. I think that's going to be more obvious to see. Now, very often a back button is in some sort of top left spot. So that could be another idea, would be to move all of this stuff down and put some sort of back up there. We can certainly try that. Let's see. What if I move this? And let's see. We would have to move everything. So let's say this is now 40 pixels down, and this one moves to the top. Where's our friends at Visual Design? Yeah, look, you know, people think I poop on visual designers, but I don't. Like, I'm terrible at visual design. You know, we need these people, and I'm always happy to have them involved because I'm bad at visual design. I'm so happy that I get to focus on this and let them do their thing. All right. How about, oh, I got to fix these now. They're in the wrong plane of existence. Yeah, it's probably better. I'd say that's probably a little bit more of a common paradigm, would be to have some sort of back paradigm or message in that top left spot. And also we need to move our drop menus down because they're not inside my panel, they're outside of my panel, because hypothetically, once you're even in the Kayleen stuff, you might start adjusting that chart by month or quarter or year and go, what the heck is going on with this Kayleen person? I need this visualization to tell me a story so that I know what to do next. So I can go back and build the functionality on that back button just so that we've got something that moves. Here we go. So back to project, could do just that. And again, I'm going to put a hotspot over it so I can have a larger tappable area and include the icon and the words. Larry, if there's something you would do dramatically differently, please let me know, because I am definitely open to the input and the feedback. I'm just thinking there's only so much that people can know from the data we've imagined they've collected. So I'm hoping to just best inform people so that they can decide what action to take next. This would be state project, and this would be slide right. Okay, let's take a look, see how we feel. Kurt says top is best. You'll see why when you move into mobile. Yeah. And again, I'm not afraid to play with a bad idea first and then go, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense for different reasons. So I'm happy to do that. Hi, Madalena. Good to see you. So let's see. Here's our project chart. We're worried that Kayleen is working too much. We shift into the Kayleen chart, or hypothetically, we could pick another worker. And maybe we change the view for Kayleen, different month or different visualization. Well, not visualization, different time frame or different month. And then we go back. No, I think that's getting somewhere. What do people think? And again, the idea here would be to have an early medium fidelity concept that could be usability tested with the target audience to make sure it's going in the right direction, to make sure it suits their tasks and their needs, that it improves their task, and that it is actionable, that they would say, you know, I would ask them in a moderated study, now that you've seen this, what would you do next? And if it's something that we can build into the graph, then of course we would. Of course we would. Make sure that as much as possible, any data visualizations are actionable, that the action shouldn't just be export. The action should be whatever people are going to do. Okay, export might be one thing, but let's make sure that the data we show people is actionable. Based on what they would be likely to do next. If they say, oh yeah, I'm going to send the project manager a message and ask them what the hell is going on with week 4, you know, what happened there? So, because we don't know, I don't think there's a way based on the data we've collected to know what happened with week 4. Maybe somebody on the team got COVID. I don't know. Hello, Madalena. So, yeah, I think based on the data we've collected, this is a pretty good start. We could imagine that this thing pops up for each of these, but I'm not going to bother building that out. But if I were going to take it to usability testing, we could do that. In fact, we could even expand this a little bit. We could make this say the hours they were estimated and the hours they worked. You know, why not go a little bit further with this concept and say, you know what? Let's open this up a little bit more. This person had X number of hours estimated. Oh, come on, Axure. This number of hours estimated and this number of hours that they actually spent. That means people might know even more before they choose to go deeper into an individual graph. So maybe we have room for estimated and worked. So let's give these little top bits here. So this might be estimated. Grabbed the wrong thing. Oh, where did I actually put center? Here it is. I don't usually use these. I usually use global widget styles. So let's imagine that we are going to grab these numbers and make a second column. Copy paste. Okay. Now this is getting a little bit traffic jammy. I'm going to have to move some of these, I think. And this would be worked or reported or, you know, whatever we decide this is. Let's move these over a little bit. But not you. And not you. Oop. And not you. And if we end up thinking we need a wider thing, I'm not against it. I am just playing with this for now. Madalena says, when I worked at these types of projects, a burn down chart was also useful because I would get to see when I'm likely to run out of hours and export that to the CSV from the tool and turn to Excel. Yep. Let's talk about that in a moment. Let's imagine that Kayleen was estimated at 40. Let's imagine that this person was estimated at 40. And let's imagine I-10 was given 10 and only worked 5 for whatever good or bad reason. And let's bring this to the front. There we go. All right, oops, and we need to widen this. There we go. Just in case. Okay, so now we've given people, we've surfaced a little bit more, hopefully helpful information up front. And again, there's no reason why that box couldn't be wider and laid out a little bit better, but I'm just working in early concept land, and I'm thinking about what information is meaningful, actionable, and helpful. What information says to somebody looking at this right now, there could be trouble. Well, we could also mark trouble with an icon. We could use some sort of icon to draw attention to the people who are over in hours. Let's take a look at that. And let's also make this wider while we're at it, because, I started with an arbitrary number, but, that doesn't mean that's what the width that this has to be. We've got plenty of room on this page. Let's see, what if we did this? And let's move this worked stuff over, space it out a little bit better. And of course, I have to move that X to where the corner now is. Let's put that like that, space it out nicely. Give me that X. There we go. Move these over. All right, now it's got too much room and it looks a little weird, but again, just stick with me on this. And let's imagine that I want to put in some sort of alert icon or concern. I'm going to put in scary emergency triangle, just to show that there is something that might be a concern that we should look into. Obviously, our visual designers will know the right icon, the right size, the right color. So obviously, I'm just messing around here. But this could be a placeholder. That's a little bit too big. This is already an alarming icon. I think we can even go a little bit smaller. But, someone else will know, not me. So Madalena, as for your burn down chart, I think that makes sense for if we did a version 2 of this project. The problem is that we didn't ask how many weeks or months the project would run. So usually a burn down chart has a sense chronologically of the project starts here and it ends here, and this is how many hours you are getting over this amount of time until you've run out of hours. But here we just said people are going to work X hours a week, and we didn't say how many weeks. So obviously, if these concepts were going in the right direction, we would need to build that out further. We also didn't have the granularity of I want Madalena working 30 hours this week, 40 hours next week, 12 hours the week after. We just assumed people were working the same number of hours each week because we were just playing with early ideas. So do I not have fit to content on here? Let's see, fit to content. Here we go. Come back, my friend. There we go. And same for you, panel. Fit to content. You should be fit to content. All right, let's also copy this. Copy this icon and put it next to our other friends here, because we have 2 people who are over hours. So we might want to draw attention to both of these. Okay, that's kind of rough, but again, we are just playing with concepts, and we're trying to figure out how to help people understand the data that they have and where their attention should be. Okay, we've got 2 people who worked more hours that week than they were supposed to. Again, we still don't know why. We just don't. And the graphs are not going to answer that, but we can hopefully help the people seeing this decide what to do next. Let's see, maybe that'll look a little bit more balanced, but again, a visual designer would cure all. Okay, what's everybody thinking about this? We went overtime. I am so sorry. We were supposed to end 10 minutes ago. I was in the zone. Hey, we're going to have to continue. I do this every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. We'll continue with this next week. I think there's a little more to build around here, but then we might actually call this one done and move on to the next one. I need a recommendation from all of you on what our next Think Out Loud realistic fake project is going to be. Check out deltacx.com/links which I'll put up on the screen. That should have a link to our online form for what project you think we should do. It can be real or it can be realistic but fake. So we're going to have to run. Sorry about that. I went way over in time. I was having too much fun. Let's see. Let's go back to a giant picture of me. And I'll also sneak into Axure really quickly and upload this to the server for anybody going to see the prototype, which again is at xmi9z4.axshare, which is AXSHARE.com. And for those of you joining live, give me some feedback. This is a new series we're doing on the YouTube channel. It's still a little bit of an experiment. Let me know how it's working for you and if you feel like it's helping you learn UX design or think more about how we design. And if I can improve it or change it at all, let me know. I am happy to adjust this because, again, it is a new experiment. Let's see. So, yeah. I guess we will all get together again. Now, don't forget, Tuesday is office hours. Ask Me Anything. So I will be back here tomorrow, and so will Darren and Dr. Nick. Excuse me. It's office hours. Ask Us Anything. Special guest Chloroseptic, not sponsored. Sorry about that. I taught Axure over the weekend, so I've been talking for like 16 hours, and now here I am again, which is why I've got my what's her name from Romancing the Stone? Catherine, what's her name? I always sound like a little bit of a tenor after I've been doing training. Kathleen Turner, that's it. I've got my Kathleen Turner voice because I've been talking so much recently. Madalena says, I think it's one of the best things about learning UX I've seen on the World Wide Web. Oh my God, thank you. That is absolutely beautiful. I couldn't ask for a higher compliment, but again, there's always room for improvement in the worlds of CX and UX. So if you can think of anything I can do that would make this series better for you or a better teaching tool, just let me know. You can always find me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message through our Slack, send a message through the Delta CX website. Madalena says, it's not fill in a persona template with a quote and you're good. Yeah, it certainly isn't. So please remember to subscribe here on the YouTube channel. I would love to get more subscribers this year. And don't forget to think of 3 friends and colleagues and managers and leaders who should know about this channel and send it over to them as well. We want to really grow it this year. And I want to grow it organically rather than buying followers, as I believe some people have done. All right, so tomorrow will be office hours, Ask Me Anything. Wednesday will be advocating for UX using debate techniques with a new special guest. Thursday will be a micro lesson on research note-taking strategies with Michelle Ronson. And of course, Friday is Reaction Stream. If you want to send in something for the Reaction Stream, that link is here. Thanks to everybody who joined in today and for being good sports about me putting people from the chat room's names on top of onto the prototype. And I guess we will do this again next week. And for now, for all the other people who enjoy office hours, I'll see you tomorrow at the Office Hours Show. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are